Moving on for now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced in his Independence Day address to the nation from the Red Fort that India is fighting the challenges of terrorism and expansionism and is dealing with them with great courage. Listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say.
आज दुनिया भारत को एक नई दृष्टि से देख रही है। इस दृष्टि के दो महत्वपूर्ण पहलू हैं। एक आतंकवाद और दूसरा विस्तारवाद। भारत इन दोनों ही चुनौतियों से लड़ रहा है और सधे हुए तरीके से बड़ी हिम्मत के साथ जवाब भी दे रहा है।
Without naming China or Pakistan, the Prime Minister highlighted the challenges that India faces from its two neighbours. Prime Minister Modi emphasised on how India's focus will be the development of Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh and the Northeast. These are regions that have suffered due to destabilising activities by Islamabad and Beijing. Pakistan has long used cross-border terrorism as a state policy to try and create unrest in the Indian region of Jammu and Kashmir. However, the security situation in the Kashmir Valley has drastically improved after the abrogation of Article 370. Terror incidents are on the decline, as are cases of stone pelting. Prime Minister Modi announced that preparations are underway for holding assembly elections in the future in Jammu and Kashmir, where development is now visible on the ground.
सभी के सामर्थ्य को उचित अवसर देना यही लोकतंत्र की असली भावना है। जम्मू हो या कश्मीर, विकास का संतुलन अब जमीन पर दिख रहा है। जम्मू कश्मीर में ही डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन का गठन हो चुका है और भविष्य में विधानसभा चुनावों के लिए भी तैयारियां चल रही है।
Meanwhile, also talking about Ladakh, which was carved as a union territory after the bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir, Prime Minister Modi said the region is progressing towards its limitless possibilities of development. Ladakh had seen tensions flare over the last year after the Galwan Valley clashes with Chinese troops. Both the sides had suffered casualties in the clashes.
Ladakh bhi विकास की अपनी असीम संभावनाओं की तरफ आगे बढ़ चला है। एक तरफ लद्दाख आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण होते देख रहा है, तो वहीं दूसरी तरफ सिंधु सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी लद्दाख को उच्च शिक्षा का, हायर एजुकेशन का केंद्र भी बना रही है।
Prime Minister Modi said that whether it is eastern India, the northeast, Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, including the entire Himalayan region or the coastal belt or the tribal regions, they will become the base for India's development in the future. Joining us for the broadcast is a very special guest, Strategic Affairs expert Professor Harsh V. Pant, Distinguished Fellow and Head of ORF Strategic Studies Program. Thanks very much for being here with us. Let me begin by asking you for your assessment, your reading of the remarks that have been made by the Indian Prime Minister, specifically on how India is dealing with its two neighbours.
Well, I think, as perhaps an Indian Prime Minister at this particular juncture should have had, given the challenges that India has always faced and has faced with particular ferocity over the last few years, in the last 1.5 years from China. I think he did well to put it out that these two twin challenges remain very important for India in its external policy formulation. And as we know, the situation in Afghanistan getting worse by the day, terrorism is likely to become even more central to what happens in the region. But I think he also did well to point out that these are the twin challenges in which India is not only standing up to these challenges, but also this is a reflection of these challenges impacting the global order. This is not simply an India-specific problem. These two challenges are not specifically targeted at India, although, of course, India is dealing with them on their own terms. But this is also a global order problem. So I think he did well to point these two issues out. And the two neighbors, of course, Pakistan and China, without being mentioned by name, were at the heart of this conversation that the Prime Minister was having with the wider national public. So I think it was timely. It was a reminder to the people that these twin challenges have not gone away and that India continues to fight it with all its might.
Indeed, and also the remarks that have been made about the assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir, and talking about the development that has been seen on the ground.
Yes, I think, one aspect which has been the focal point of perhaps this government's policy endeavors is how to bring the border areas into the national mainstream, the frontier areas of India into the national mainstream, whether it is the northeast or it is the Jammu and Kashmir, where we have seen after the revocation of Article 370, a lot of focus on what happens on the ground. And now, as the Prime Minister pointed out, preparations towards elections and restoring of democratic normalcy. And I think those, it is important from an Indian perspective that these two regions, which are so vital to India's strategic periphery, become integral to India's developmental vision, both in terms of if you are looking at India engaging with the larger Indo-Pacific, with the larger Eastern front, our Northeast is so critical to that. And when it comes to our India defending itself from the twin challenges that we were just discussing, Jammu and Kashmir is so integral to that. So unless these two areas are part of India's developmental paradigm, they are sharing India's developmental and growth agenda, it would be very difficult to starve off even the national security challenges. So it is very important what I think the government, the Prime Minister was highlighting, and in particular what has happened in Jammu and Kashmir over the last 1.5, over the last 2 years since the revocation of Article 370.
Hi, Shripant. Appreciate very much for joining us with those perspectives. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.